Can you even imagine this? A chilling story that absolutely rocked a community. A man in his 40s arrested, and his crime? He abducted and then imprisoned a child for 12 incredibly long years in a forgotten, rundown warehouse. Just try to wrap your head around that. The news, of course, went viral. Every single reporter, every camera, they were desperate for just one glimpse of this monster as he was dragged off to prison. Questions? Oh, they bombarded him, but he just stayed silent, his face hidden from the world's outrage. But the real story, the one absolutely nobody expected, was unfolding inside that dilapidated warehouse. The lock, finally broken, revealed a scene that was both heartbreaking and honestly, incredibly poignant. Scattered everywhere, not debris, but countless books. And right there, amongst them, a boy, quietly reading. It was a moment of profound, almost unbelievable discovery. Two officers contacting their captain, their voices filled with urgency. They'd found the boy. But what they saw, the severe injuries covering his body, painted a grim, grim picture. This wasn't just imprisonment. This was years of unimaginable abuse. Somewhere in the quiet, sterile halls of a hospital, a new chapter began for Shin Woo-jin. He was 18 years old, but his body told a story far, far beyond his years. Doctors quickly confirmed it. Severe nutritional imbalance and external wounds that were inflamed, infected, just horrific. One doctor just couldn't wrap her head around the sheer horror of it all. How could such a beautiful child be trapped, forced into labor for over a decade? And then another devastating detail emerged: hearing loss. She scribbled notes, then tried a simple message. "What's your name? Can you say it out loud?" He remained silent, just observing them. A lifetime of fear, maybe still holding him captive even now. The doctor urged him to respond, quickly. And then a voice, soft, hesitant, but clear. He replied, "I was a son of a..." Shocked. Just imagine the shock in that room. What had this boy endured to believe that was his identity? It's chilling, isn't it? Those words, "I was a son of a bastard," they weren't just a statement. They were a direct window into a living nightmare. His mind replayed rapid flashes of that brutal existence, working under a scorching sun, every single muscle aching, while his captor just rested in comfort. He remembered the raw, desperate hunger, devouring meager scraps of rice as if each bite could be his last. The chilling echo of that man's shout, "the son of a," as the heavy metal door slammed shut, plunging him into utter darkness. The biting cold of winter, shivering with just a cockroach for company near his only source of comfort, a book. In the present, the doctors were grappling with the sheer scale of the brainwashing Woo-jin had endured. How deeply had this twisted, horrifying identity been ingrained? As they examined the countless scars covering his body, visible proof of his torment, a wave of righteous anger just washed over them. "Those bastards," one muttered, their voice laced with fury. "Deserve to be executed." Amidst their outrage, a flicker of hope still remained. The test results, she explained, weren't as dire as they'd feared. She gently reached out to him, but he flinched violently at her touch. His instinct, conditioned by years of abuse, was to recoil. She reassured him, "It's okay now. You can sleep as much as you want." But the moment she closed that door, the brutal reality of the outside world crashed in. A swarm of reporters, hungry for a story, trying to push past the overwhelmed guards, just bombarding them with relentless questions about Woo-jin's condition and his family. Their relentless shouting, their insatiable, morbid curiosity pushed her past her limit. She snapped, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Is other people's misfortune your source of happiness?" She tore into the hesitant guard. How had they even gotten in? Were their ID badges checked? "I'll report every single one of you," she threatened. The reporters, realizing they'd crossed a line, finally retreated, heading for the original scene of the crime. Back inside, Woo-jin stirred, slowly opening his eyes to the sterile glow of the fluorescent light. He felt something attached to his arm, an IV tube, feeding him. Across the room, another patient, seemingly oblivious, was just texting on his phone. The man noticed Woo-jin watching him. "You got kidnapped, huh?" the man casually remarked. "Life sure is unpredictable." Woo-jin didn't respond, and the man simply assumed he couldn't hear well. Internally, he foresaw a difficult road ahead for Woo-jin. But Woo-jin was processing far, far more than silence. His extraordinary mind, honed by years of observation and confinement, was already at work. He examined the man's hospital card, Kim Nam-sun.
Age 57, diagnosed with an open femur fracture.
Woo-jin's calculations were instant. 167 centimeters tall, approximately 60 kilograms. He noted Namsun's left-handedness, the rough, dry texture of his hands, indicating frequent dehydration. As Namsun scrolled through his phone, Woojin deduced the absence of watch marks or rings, suggesting no interest in accessories, a life of manual labor, and being unmarried. Piecing together every single detail, Woojin meticulously reconstructed the accident. Namsun had fallen from a low rooftop while plastering. His left-handed brain instinctively directed his left foot to hit the ground first. The sheer kinetic energy of the impact, too much for the bone to absorb, had caused the femur to fracture and protrude outward. Woojin envisioned the entire scene, the man screaming in pain, collapsing unconscious, others rushing to his aid. He even determined the most suitable first aid, treating an open femur fracture. Woojin's intense focus on Kim Namsun's injury analysis was suddenly broken by the soft click of the hospital room door. The kind doctor entered, a gentle hum on her lips, carrying a tray. "Did you sleep well?" she asked, her voice calm and so reassuring. She walked towards him, her movements unhurried, and adjusted the small hospital table right in front of him. "Are you hungry?" she asked, then advised him to eat with the provided fork and spoon, assuming they'd be easier for him. But Woojin wasn't just looking at the food. His mind, ever the observer, was still analyzing her. He noticed the outer corners of her eyes, softly drooping, forming subtle crow's feet. Her cheek muscles tightened and lifted, and both corners of her mouth rose perfectly symmetrically. Every tiny detail registered. He recognized it instantly. This was a genuine, supportive smile. Clear evidence. She was not a threat. She placed a spoon in his hand, her touch light. "You can eat comfortably now," she assured him. "No one will say anything." Woojin silently observed the food, his eyes widening slightly, a telltale swallow. "Go ahead," she urged. "Hospital food might not taste great, but eat plenty." Then, without a moment of hesitation, Woojin began to eat, not with a spoon, with his bare hands, rapidly. It was a primal, desperate act that astonished everyone in the room. The doctor told him to slow down, warning he might get indigestion, but he couldn't stop. He ate until every last grain of rice was gone, picking it meticulously from the bowl and placing it in his mouth. The doctor could only cover her mouth in shock, a profound question echoing in her mind. Just how miserably had he been living? Her phone rang, jarring her. As she answered, a voice on the other end delivered unexpected news. Shin Woojin's family had arrived. Her demeanor shifted instantly. She rushed to Woojin, her voice brimming with excitement. "Your mom and dad are here," she told him. Woojin looked at her, utterly confused by her words. "That's right," she reassured him. "Shall I bring them in?" Before he could respond, she swiftly gathered the food tray and hurried out, closing the door behind her. Woojin's gaze drifted to the clock on the wall. Mom and dad. How long would they take? He began to count, every second, every minute ticking by in his mind. After 1 minute and 22 seconds, he heard it. A voice outside said, "We will let him hear." Woojin grew more confused as countless words flooded his mind. He kept his eyes on the clock, focusing intently on the sound of approaching footsteps, 2 distinct shadows just outside his door. He heard them mention patient stability, ensuring Woojin wouldn't be startled. He waited patiently. Finally, the door opened. A man and a woman stood there, with the doctor, their faces etched with deep, deep emotion. They called out his name, a mix of relief and sorrow in their voices. But Woojin remained bewildered. Suddenly, they rushed towards him, both calling his name joyfully, embracing him tightly, tears streaming down their faces as they apologized. Completely confused, Woojin pushed them away. They looked at him, shocked, asking, "What's wrong?" He clutched his head, an intense pain seizing him, struggling desperately to make sense of what was happening. This wasn't the reunion they, or he, had expected. It was a heartbreaking moment of disconnect. Sometime later, in the vibrant heart of a bustling town, life was carrying on. For Bomi, a young girl, it meant tidying up the house and the usual everyday conversations with her mom. But beneath the surface, a quiet anxiety simmered. She was thinking about her brother. She scrolled through her phone, her thoughts consumed by the impending arrival of her biological brother. Would it be awkward? She'd met him at the hospital, of course. His manner of speaking, his behavior, it was all so unusual. And honestly, she had no real memories of her brother from when she was little. Watching the news reports about the warehouse where he'd been rescued, a chilling thought crossed her mind. Confined there for 12 years. Would she have ended up like him? Fortunately, it wasn't hearing loss, they said, but psychological factors. Still, what a relief. The doorbell rang, startling her. She rushed to the front door as her mom's excited voice called out, "Bomi, I brought your brother home!" Her mom, ever the caregiver, immediately assumed he must be starving and declared she'd make dinner. Her dad, with a wide, welcoming smile, encouraged Woojin to step inside. Woojin nodded and entered. As his dad closed the door, Woojin's eyes began their meticulous scan. He wasn't looking at them. He was absorbing the entire house, every single detail. Bomi offered an awkward, nervous chuckle, trying to break the tension. "Welcome home," she mumbled. Woojin didn't respond, continuing his silent inspection, making the moment even more uncomfortable for her. His gaze finally landed on a collection of childhood photos, Bomi's. His dad, sensing the unease, assumed Woojin felt out of place after so long. He gestured toward a room. "Do you remember it?" he asked, hoping for a familiar spark. Woojin simply nodded. But the awkwardness for Bomi only grew when their dad suggested Woojin check out his room and spend time with her. Her mom quickly stepped in, insisting, determined, "You show him the room and try to connect with him." Bomi tried to object, insisting she'd help with dinner instead. "Spending time with your brother," her mom countered, "is more helpful than arguing." As his mom began chopping vegetables, cooking their first family meal together, Woojin sat in his room with Bomi. For her, the situation was unbearably, exquisitely awkward. Woojin, meanwhile, quietly absorbed every detail of the space. The bed, the window nearby, a PC, and a chair. "This is my room," he concluded. "Brother?" Bomi nervously called out. He turned to look at her, and she was taken aback. Observing his face closely, she had a fleeting, regrettable thought. He was even more handsome than she remembered from the hospital. She decided to start simple. Teach him how to use a smartphone. She showed him how to turn it on, then began entering their mom's, dad's, and her own numbers, demonstrating the process. She deleted her number. "Now you try saving it yourself," she instructed. His response was immediate and utterly stunning. "I understand." Bomi was just floored. "Did you really mean that?" she asked, then quickly added, "You don't need to use formal speech with your younger sister, okay?" Woojin, with an innocent nod, simply agreed. Moved by his innocence and quiet compliance, she felt a surge of emotion. She handed him the phone, powered off. "You need to turn it on first," she gently reminded him. As Woojin pressed the power button, his eyes were completely captivated by the screen's bright glow. She pointed to the new contact option. "I'll give you my number," she said, and began reciting it. Woojin, without hesitation, quickly typed it into his phone. Bomi watched, surprised. Was this truly his first time using a phone? His fingers seemed even faster than hers. After Woojin finished saving the contact, he looked up. "Did I do it correctly? Should I try again?" he asked. Bomi reassured him. "That's right, brother. You seem really smart," she said, thinking to herself. "He's learning incredibly fast." Next, she decided to teach him how to search the internet. He looked puzzled. "In this box," she explained, "you can type anything you want to know." He watched intently as she demonstrated tapping the magnifying glass icon. When she asked if he wanted to try, he nodded. He typed the word family. The internet displayed a definition, along with images illustrating what a family is. He glanced at Bomi, then back at the screen, and then back at her. He pointed to her, his voice soft. "Sister, family." Bomi turned back in surprise. Then a slow, genuine smile spread across her face.
"That's right,"
she reassured him, her voice filled with warmth. It was a simple yet profound connection. Woojin suddenly caught a scent in the air. Bomi, still caught in the emotion of the moment, watched him wiping her tears. He wondered if the scent was perfume. His mind, ever the encyclopedia, instantly recalled its origins, dating back around 5,000 years, used in religious ceremonies and as a way to communicate with gods. Modern perfumes, he knew, were crafted from a blend of various fragrances and solvents, meant to attract others or leave an impression. Suddenly, he stood up. "Good smell, perfume," he announced, leaving Bomi completely puzzled by his words. As he began walking out of the room, Bomi called after him, "Where are you going?" But he didn't respond, continuing his determined path. He stepped out of his room and into the kitchen where his parents were cooking. He was immediately captivated by the rich aroma filling the air. His gaze landed on the food, beautifully arranged on the table. He paused, the realization dawning on him. It wasn't perfume at all. He looked down, swallowing hard. Is all of this, he wondered, really food? Seeing him emerge at the perfect moment, his mom beamed. "You must be hungry," she said, telling him to sit down. Bomi entered, noticing her dad had made kimchi stew. Their mom urged her to sit down as well. They all gathered for dinner, Woojin's mom and dad lovingly feeding him like a child. As he ate, surrounded by his family, joyful laughter filled the home. For the first time in a long, long time, Wu Jin was truly part of a meal, part of a family. It was a beautiful, ordinary moment. But as Wu Jin found comfort and laughter in his new home, a much darker reality was unfolding elsewhere. On the other side of the city, a man sat accused, his life crumbling around him. My family died 5 years ago, he cried out, desperation in his voice. Do you have nothing to say about it? His wife, then his mother, his sister-in-law, all victims of what appeared to be poisonous herbs. Even 2 close neighbors had passed away. I wasn't the one, the accused man insisted, his voice cracking. But the other man, a relentless detective, pointed to the tragic string of deaths. You're responsible, he shouted, accusing him directly. Yet the man continued to deny it, desperately pleading, I truly didn't do it! The detective, frustrated by his uncooperative stance, warned him. But in response, the accused man lashed out. He called the detective by name. Detective Kim Tae-han then claimed, that bastard might be the real killer. The detective, confused, demanded an explanation. Enraged, the man rose, shouting, the son of a... I fed and sheltered! He murdered them all! Another man quickly entered, ordering him to sit down. How dare you yell, the detective demanded. The accused man insisted, you have no idea what kind of bastard he is. And then, a jarring echo from the past. We see Wu Jin, much younger, still imprisoned. Rain lashed outside, thunder rumbled, but he was lost in the pages of a book. Human Anatomy. His hair was unkempt, his surroundings bleak, yet his focus remained absolute. This was how he survived, by devouring knowledge. Back in the present, Wu Jin was in his new room, staring at his phone. He tapped an icon, recalling Bomi's suggestion. This is what a lot of people watch. He was astonished by the countless videos on the platform. He found a vlog, a man introducing himself. Wu Jin listened intently, then rewound the video to the beginning. As the man introduced himself again, Wu Jin mimicked his style. Hello, family and everyone, he repeated, his own voice sounding out the unfamiliar words. Then, a food video caught his attention. Tteokbokki mukbang. There, a girl introduced herself, saying she was finally going to try the tteokbokki she'd been craving all week. Wu Jin intently watched her eat, his own mouth watering, a new craving forming within him. Suddenly, a knock on his door. It was Bomi, her face smiling. What are you doing? Can I come in? She asked. Wu Jin opened the door. Did you call me? Do you need something? He asked. Then, a remnant of his past surfacing, he offered, should I clean? What kind of work should I do? Bomi quickly refused, her smile unwavering. No, you don't have to do that, she assured him. I just want to go get some ice cream. Wu Jin looked puzzled. Ice cream? He'd never heard the word. Realizing his confusion, she described it excitedly. It's cool and really delicious. She led Wu Jin outside. His mom insisted they had nowhere else to be, and his dad told Bomi to hold his brother's hand tightly. We'll be right back, they called out, full of reassurance. They stepped onto the street, walking for a while. Wu Jin was mesmerized by the brightly lit stores, illuminating the night with an otherworldly glow. As they entered the store, the owner greeted them warmly. Wu Jin was even more astonished by the sight of delicious food everywhere. Bomi called him over, leading him to a fridge packed with ice cream. Choose anything you like, she told him. He continued staring in awe. Noticing his hesitation, Bomi asked if he needed help. After a moment's thought, she picked out an ice cream cone. This is delicious, she said, handing it to him. As they headed out, Bomi wondered if she should let him try paying, but decided to take it slow, buying the ice cream herself. They thanked the owner, who wished them a nice day. Nearby, 2 girls eating snacks urged each other to look. They spotted Wu Jin with his sister, struggling to open his ice cream. They were stunned. He's so handsome, one. One nudged her friend to ask for his number, but they hesitated, too embarrassed. Bomi, noticing their whispers and mistaken assumption, gave a knowing smirk. Oh, if they only knew. Bomi offered to open it for him, and he gladly accepted, thanking her. You don't need to thank your sister, she assured him, handing him the unwrapped ice cream. Try it. Drool formed at the corner of his mouth. He took a small bite, slowly tasting it. As the flavor spread across his tongue, his eyes widened in pure, unadulterated shock. Bomi, puzzled by his sudden reaction, asked, Does it taste odd? Is it too cold? Regretting her choice, she added, If it tastes weird, you don't have to force yourself to eat it. Then Wu Jin exclaimed, It's delicious! Overwhelmed, tears welled in his eyes. He began to eagerly lick the ice cream. Bomi wondered where he'd learned to say that. As Woojin devoured his treat, Bomi, glancing back at the surprised girls, told him to eat slowly. Woojin, like a pure happy child, eagerly ate his ice cream. Bomi at his behavior and took out her phone. "Should we take a picture?" she asked. He mumbled something while eating. Then she snapped a few photos, just enjoying the moment with her brother. Looking through the pictures, she decided it was time to head home. "Let's eat as we walk," she suggested. Sometime later, as they strolled down the street, Bomi sent a picture to her friends with the caption, "Ice cream with my brother today." Their comments quickly came in. "He looks like a puppy," and playful jokes about wishing they were the ice cream. For Woojin, this simple outing was nothing short of miraculous. As Bomi was completely absorbed in her phone, a playful smile still on her face, Woojin suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. She, oblivious, just kept walking ahead, the happy moment continuing around her. She didn't even notice. That's when Woojin saw him, a man, partially hidden, trailing them. His gaze wasn't on Woojin. It was fixed directly on Bomi. Unaware of his presence, Bomi continued walking, while the man's eyes drifted over her legs, then lingered uncomfortably on her butt and the area around her neck. He looked like a starving hyena eyeing its prey. It was truly unsettling. Woojin silently observed him, studying every detail, from his appearance to his face. And then a crucial realization clicked into place. He remembered his family at the hospital, how they hadn't truly recognized him. This man, this stranger, didn't belong in this neighborhood. He was an outsider, here for one sinister purpose. As Woojin stood there, unwavering, the stalker noticed him. He quickly turned away, trying to hide his face before walking off. But Woojin's eyes, sharp and calculating, continued to dissect him. He carefully examined the man's back, noticing his sweat-soaked armpits and the creases on the knees of his pants. He realized the man had pedal marks, but they weren't wide, like from a bicycle. They were from a motorcycle. There was nowhere nearby where mud would stick to his shoes, meaning he'd come from another area entirely. Woojin took note of every other subtle detail, his expression growing grim. This wasn't just a casual stroll. "Bomi!" he called out, his voice sharper than usual. She turned, asking why he was just standing there. She scanned her surroundings, asking if something was wrong. "Just head inside first," Woojin instructed, his voice grave. She swiftly grabbed his arm, pulling him along. "It's far too late at night," she insisted. "Besides, if I go in alone, Mom will scold me." She pulled him along, thinking it was far too risky to leave Woojin alone after they arrived home safely. Little did she know, the true risk was far greater than she could imagine. Sometime later, Woojin stood in his room, watching the rain pour down, mirroring the storm brewing within him. A voice, his own, yet not his own, echoed in his mind.
"We will protect his family,"
it stated, with an unsettling confidence.
"Stay out of it."
Woojin insisted, "They're his family too." The voice.
"He's reporting it to the police? Is that really how he intends to protect them? You fool."
"There are many ways," Woojin countered, his voice firm. He called his old self a monster who can't adapt to this world. But the old self, claiming, "I did what was necessary to survive. Someone soft-hearted like you would have died long ago." Woojin insisted he could have made it on his own, that his existence has no place in this world. As the rain grew heavier, Woojin stood by the window, a silent battle raging within. His old self, defiant, demanded, "What are you even doing? Is there anything you truly excel at more than me?" Woojin declared, "I am the master of my body. You are just another persona I created." But his old self merely a dark, chilling sound, claiming the body belonged to him. Woojin knew worry and anxiety were his sustenance, always consuming him, but now he could control him. He could summon him from his subconscious and fully tap into his knowledge. A fierce beast with sharp fangs. If Woojin used him well, he could unleash his full potential. And today, the transformation began. His old self gradually took control of his entire body, rolling his shoulders, loosening the tension. Outside, in the dim, rain-soaked night, the stalker stood, umbrella in hand. A sinister smile slowly spread across Woojin's old self as he spotted him. He slowly approached the door, silently unlocked it, and carefully pushed it open without a sound. Step by chilling step, he advanced toward the front entrance. Woojin descended the stairs as the rain continued its relentless pour. He opened the front gate of their house and stepped directly in front of the stalker, who instinctively tried to play the part of an ordinary passerby. Woo-Jen halted. He raised his hand slightly, feeling the rain drench him completely. "Gift of all things," he stated. "Even concealing human presence can be called rain." He looked back at the stalker, a chilling observation. So meticulous in preparation, waiting for a day like this. The stalker, utterly baffled, just looked back at him. Woo-Jen approached, his voice demanding, "What do you mean? Don't be dull." Suddenly, Woo-Jen struck him. A single, powerful blow that sent the stalker flying to the ground. Speechless, the stalker looked up at Woo-Jen in shock. His fear deepened as Woo-Jen ripped his shirt apart, revealing the countless scars across his own body. As the stalker stared at them, absolute terror gripped him. Woo-Jen crouched down, his voice a low, dangerous growl. Never show his face again. Woo-Jen vowed that if he did, he would etch those wounds into his body. The stalker instinctively retreated in fear. Cold, cutting, "If he understands," Woo-Jen commanded. "He shouldn't crawl like a worm, just disappear quickly." The frightened stalker immediately dashed away, leaving Woo-Jen standing alone in the relentless downpour. He gazed up at the streetlight, the sound of the rain now seemingly pleasant to him. And gradually, a smile spread across his face. Not the innocent smile of Woo-Jen, but the satisfied, chilling grin of the unleashed persona.
The days that followed the storm were filled with a comforting new rhythm. The next day, Woo-Jin enjoyed a peaceful meal with his family at a restaurant. 2 days later, he was sharing the famous tteokbokki with his mom, listening intently as she shared its rich history. 3 days later, he was with his sister, captivated by a movie, remarking how the combination of corn and caramel was just perfect. And then, 4 days later, in his room, an astonishing display unfolded. Woo-Jin was studying with his sister, a question notebook open before him. He scanned the words on the page, and his pen moved with breathtaking speed, swiftly marking the correct answers. Bomi watched, utterly astonished by his pace. Bomi, assuming he was just mindlessly marking the questions, quickly scolded him. "You should go through all the questions before answering," she insisted. But Woo-Jin calmly assured her, "I have read them all." He innocently handed her his notebook. Puzzled, Bomi wondered how he'd learned to speak like that, even regretting introducing him to YouTube. Looking at the notebook, she still thought he must have just guessed. "Then, shall we grade it together?" she said, trying to teach him the process. Woo-Jin agreed. She went through his answers one by one, and with each correct mark, her eyes widened further. She was shocked, confused. Every single one was right. "Did you truly read and solve all of them?" she asked, disbelief coloring her voice. Woo-Jin agreed, then asked simply, "Did I do well?" She swapped the notebook for a more difficult one, a challenging test. "Do you want to try this one too?" she challenged. Woo-Jin took the notebook, and in just a few seconds, he marked all the correct answers. Embarrassed, Bomi quickly snatched the notebook back. Upon checking it, she exclaimed, "You're like a genius." Woo-Jin responded, "I am not a genius. I simply want to be an ordinary person." She questioned his choice. Why would someone with such a brilliant mind desire to be ordinary? Bomi looked at him, and her mind filled with images of his past, younger than her, enduring unimaginable abuse at the hands of his kidnapper, forced into slavery, made to clean toilets, suffering through the freezing cold with nothing to keep him warm. She watched the innocent Woo-Jin standing on his chair and began to cry. "You've been through so much," she sobbed. Woo-Jin examined every detail of her face, determining her emotions were genuine. He flinched slightly, then gently placed his hand on her head, softly calling her name, urging her not to be sad. He swiftly moved to his desk, searching for something, and started writing in his notepad. A bewildered Bomi asked what he was doing. Woo-Jin simply attempted to hand her the notebook. As she questioned if he'd written something, her eyes widened in astonishment as she glanced down at the words he had penned for her. To avoid feeling sad, as her body temperature drops,
Her immune system may weaken. The emotion of sadness impacts her tongue and can contribute to weight gain and cardiovascular disease. It also influences cortisol hormones, raising stress levels and disturbing sleep quality. Sadness stimulates the hippocampus, making the brain require more energy, which can leave her feeling exhausted. The emotion of sadness lowers serotonin levels, potentially leading to depression and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Surprised, Bomi asked him, "How do you know all this?" Wu Jin sat beside her and replied with a calm simplicity that belied the depth of his knowledge. "I have read many books." Suddenly, Wu Jin rushed to the kitchen as their mom called them, urging them to come eat, mentioning that the side dishes included meat. He left behind a stunned Bomi, utterly bewildered by his uncanny knowledge of such things.
Sometime later at night, Wu Jin was back in his room, resting on his bed, just watching food YouTube videos. He assumed the food must be incredibly tasty. As he scrolled slowly through the videos, one by one, his eyes fell on a thumbnail. A high school girl preparing to eat 10 servings of malatang. He didn't even know what that was, so he clicked on the video. Wu Jin started watching as she introduced herself. Then, suddenly she glanced upward, pointing her finger to her lips. As she picked up some noodles with her chopsticks, she bit her lips before eating them. Wu Jin began watching more closely. She started blushing while eating, covering her mouth and looking upward, exclaiming, "It's extremely spicy but still delicious." Wu Jin grew more confused as she said that. Then she dropped some noodles on the table, saying it was hot. She smiled, closing her eyes, and gave a thumbs up, exclaiming, "The texture is no joke." While talking, she pushed the bowl aside, revealing a noodle shaped like an S. Wu Jin quickly realized something profound. He immediately looked up her YouTube channel. He found numerous videos of her eating different kinds of food. As he scrolled through them, he watched closely, carefully analyzing each one. He noticed her cooking while grasping her necklace, and he could clearly see the sorrow on her face. Then, as she spoke, she let her hair down and set her ribbon on the table, forming an O shape. Wu Jin then checked another one of her videos where she was eating chicken and decided to mix it with rice. Wu Jin realized she resembled someone familiar to him. He pictured himself behaving the same way after seeing it and wondered, would that truly be normal? He recalled a recent conversation. His dad had asked him, "What do you want to be in the future?" His mom, always protective, wondered why his dad was bringing it up so soon. She comforted Wu Jin, assuring him, "It's okay if you don't have any plans, just stay healthy and happy for a long time." Wu Jin had replied, clear and firm, "I want to be an ordinary office worker." His parents, surprised but supportive, had assured him that being an office worker was good too, and he could pursue whatever he wanted. The next day, Wu Jin found himself walking confidently towards the entrance of a Korean police station. For him, reporting something was simply a common ordinary thing to do. Inside the police station, the same accused man from before was still vehemently insisting he truly didn't do it. But the detective showed him photos stating it was all recorded on CCTV. The man still denied it, claiming he didn't wear that type of hat. "There's even a witness," the detective informed him. "Who is it?" the man demanded. As that man desperately insisted on his innocence, Wu Jin arrived, his presence calm and purposeful. "Detective Kim Tae-han," he called out. Tae-han watched him for a moment. Then his eyes widened in surprise. It was Wu Jin, so handsome now, barely recognizable. Tae-han remembered the day they rescued him, the boy's terrified condition, how every movement made him flinch when Tae-han tried to fasten his seatbelt. He'd had to reassure him, promising to take responsibility and make sure he got home safely. "Have you been in good health?" Tae-han asked, genuinely pleased. "I have been doing well, thanks to you," Wu Jin responded, his words now fluent. Tae-han exclaimed in surprise, "He's even speaking fluently now." He then ordered his colleague Jewel to escort the accused man to the holding cell. As Jewel led him away, the man desperately insisted on his innocence. Wu Jin watched, then made a sharp observation. Has this situation now become the usual procedure for culprits? When culprits are caught, they always deny it initially. Woojin, matter-of-fact, almost philosophical. Taehan chuckled, agreeing. When they're caught, they always deny it as if following a script, he said. He asked Woojin how he found his way here, joking if he came because he missed him. Woojin took out his phone. I have something to show you, he said. Woojin, calm, hinting at something important. Taehan assumed Woojin wanted something to drink and told him to sit so they could talk outside. Woojin reassured him, it's fine, and opened the YouTube channel of the girl. Please check this out, he urged Taehan. Taehan watched the video, a flicker of confusion on his face. Did you start a YouTube channel? He asked. Taehan, puzzled. Woojin kept playing the video, explaining, it's someone who is in a similar situation as him. When her eyes shift up and to the right while her fingers move towards her lips, it indicates nervousness, slight pause, or anxiety. Biting the lips as if chewing on them is feeling anxious in front of appetizing food is unusual, so I suggest she might be faking her reactions. Woojin, precise, analytical, with a subtle shift to suspicion on faking her reactions. When her eyes shift up and to the right again, it signals dishonesty, slight emphasis, as her words and expressions don't align. While she is eating, her hunched shoulders imply she feels uneasy, slight emphasis, or threatened. When her eyes shift up and to the left, it indicates she is retrieving memories rather than being deceptive. However, her unconscious attempt to cover her mouth suggests she is concealing something. While she is boiling water, touching or playing with her necklace is a common self-soothing behavior that helps alleviate stress and restore emotional balance. Woojin continues the detailed analysis, maintaining a consistent, observant tone. Is she trying to signal for help? Questioning, slightly urgent. To confirm it, I'll rewind the video and show him the moment she makes the SOS gesture. Focus on her subtle expressions and involuntary movements. Firm, it's too intentional to be a coincidence. I suspect she is being held captive, calling every expression and signal she used to plead for help. Still, he couldn't confirm that she was being held captive, so I'll explain. At first, it was just a faint strand of hair, then a hair tie, then a piece of cotton. Gradual buildup. They're steadily growing bolder. Strong emphasis. He realizes I'm saying the victim is likely in their early 20s. The YouTuber may not have a family, but may have grown up in a poor environment. And the perpetrators aren't just one person, but a group. He pictures the girl cornered and held captive. Are you familiar with her? Taehan, questioning. I'm not. Woojin, calm, direct. He's surprised. I was also imprisoned for a long time, so I understand the behavior of captive people well. Detective, do you believe coincidences can become truth when they pile up? Woojin, thoughtful, leading. The outfit he is wearing was chosen by his mom. My clothes were also chosen by my mom. He grows confused. How do you know that? Taehan, puzzled. That's one coincidence with what I just mentioned. Woojin, matter of fact. I speculate that the culprit likely plays violin or viola as a hobby, not professionally, but with serious dedication. He becomes even more perplexed. That would be the second coincidence. Taehan, disbelieving chuckle. He chuckles and guesses that I want to be a profiler or something. I'm trying to persuade you with logic. I gesture toward the suspect who just entered the holding cell. Ask him once what his hobby is. I guarantee that if I'm wrong after you ask, you can punish me for interfering with official duties. Woojin, firm, confident. He dismisses the idea, saying they do have a connection so he can ask. He then walks off, telling me to wait a moment. I watch him walk away, closing the door behind him. As he moves down the corridor, he questions what he is doing at the moment, but admits that the kid speaks well. He then carefully inspects his shirt and uneasily wonders how I really knew. He calls out to the man locked behind the cell. Do you happen to play the violin or viola? Taehan, casual, almost dismissive. The man acknowledges that it is his hobby, leaving him stunned, shocked tone, and confused. The man questions if he investigated that thoroughly and wonders if he even searched his house. He silently watches him. He suspects I might have some kind of ability. When that man persistently claimed he was innocent and repeatedly inquired about the eyewitness, I was attentively observing his every move. As that man kept arguing with him, I was analyzing the structure of his face and the rhetoric details of his hands. Then, I deduced that the man played the violin or viola. Then he comes back searching for me. Yule, where did that kid who was here go? Taehan, slightly urgent. Jewel replies that he doesn't know. He notices a note near some pictures. As he picks up the sheet of paper, he begins reading about the third coincidence, which reveals that the high school mukbang girl is desperate now, ending with my phone number. He calls out to Jewel, urging him to search YouTube for high school mukbang immediately. Taehan, growing urgency and realization. Sometime later at the bus stop, I patiently wait for the bus. As the bus slows to a stop in front of me, I recall when my mom gave me my new transit card. Walking toward the entrance of the bus, I think, asterisk, this is the second time I'm a student, asterisk. Woojin, reflective, a hint of wonder. I hop on, swipe my card to pay, and head to the back seats, sitting by the window. As I gaze outside, I then remember someone drinking. It was my father and another man, while I was eating chicken with some Coke. That man asks, "Do you want to be an office worker?" I do. I want to be a regular office worker like the ones at his workplace. Woojin, earnest. I call him uncle. My dad thinks. My uncle laughs and says he heard I'm exceptional at studying and solve problems in seconds. He reassures me it would be ordinary for me. Could I take a look around? Woojin, polite curiosity. My uncle agrees and asks when I'd like to come. While on the bus, I remember that the date I promised my uncle is today. I glance at the notice board and realize there are 4 stops left until my destination. I roughly estimate how many minutes and seconds it will take to arrive. As I enter the city, my bus stops in front of the company where my uncle works. I call my uncle, who assures me he will be down soon. The building was Shinhwa General Trading. I think it's as tall as expected from a major corporation, asterisk. Woojin, impressed. As people go about their daily routines, I observe them closely and see them as ordinary individuals. I reflect on my dream of living a simple, ordinary life like theirs. My uncle arrives and questions me about waiting outside instead of in the lobby. I express my gratitude for the opportunity to visit. My uncle assures me it's nothing, then leads me through the company gate. As we walk through the building, my uncle asks if I'm impressed, and I nod in agreement. My uncle explains that there's a cafeteria in the basement and that they have several branch offices nationwide. I quietly recite the name of each branch. My uncle asks if I researched all that before coming, and I confirm it. I say I thought I needed to know a lot to live an ordinary life and believe that living ordinarily is not easy. My uncle remarks that I'm sharp and asks if they should go up. He then swipes his card on the machine ahead of me. My uncle was showing me the 5 elevators when a girl noticed them and asked if I was the manager's son. He addressed her as Hylim and clarified that I was not his son, but his nephew, explaining that he had something to deliver. She glances at me and remarks that she can see it. While I silently meet her gaze, we both simultaneously ask each other if he or she is in high school. Hylim looks puzzled by my question and asks if it isn't obvious from the uniform that she is in high school. As the elevator doors open, my uncle quickly ushers me inside and tells Hylim he'll see her later. As the door starts to close, he tells Hylim to enjoy her lunch. He lets out a sigh as the elevator ascends. Upon reaching the 7th floor, my uncle leads the surprised me into their workplace, where numerous employees are engrossed in their projects. I walk through the bustling office, observing workers absorbed in their tasks, some being scolded by their bosses, while others appear exhausted from their demanding assignments. My uncle seats me in a chair and asks if I feel like an office worker sitting there. I shake my head and reply that I will work hard to truly become one. Woojin, determined. Then, a man calls his uncle the manager, informing him that the Saudi contract has been canceled. He immediately shouts, ordering him to notify everyone to gather in the conference room immediately. My uncle escorts me back, mentioning that he had planned to eat with me in the cafeteria but suddenly has urgent business to attend to. I reassure him that it's fine since I have already seen a lot. I enter the lift, descending to the 1st floor. Coincidentally, I and Hylim step out of the lift at the same time. Hylim notices me coming out and exclaims she saw him again. I observe her behavior and think, this is not a place for a high school student to be. I note that she remains unfazed when dealing with adults, maintaining a calm tone and composed expression. As I try to leave, she moves forward, obstructing my path and asks if I received what the manager relayed. I observe that she walks with assured strides, asserting control over the space as if it were her own territory by blocking my way. Judging from her actions, I deduce that she is likely associated with a high-ranking company executive and figure it wouldn't hurt to get acquainted with her. I assure her that I got it and say goodbye, leaving her puzzled. As I start walking away, she quickly calls out to me and I turn back, asking what she wants. She questions whether it isn't class time right now and if I am skipping. I respond that I don't attend school, confusing her even more. As I attempt to leave, I remind her that I already said I don't go to school, but she again stops me. Hylam remarks that she hates wasting time on things that offer her no benefit, just like this moment, and doesn't see any value in talking to me. She is taken aback when I casually tell her I would actually prefer if she stopped talking to me. I deduce that by dismissing and undermining others, people attempt to validate their own worth. I mentally challenge her to reveal who she thinks she is. Hylam narrows her eyes at me and asks, "What if I am the daughter of this company's CEO?" Hylam, challenging, a hint of arrogance. I think I saw this coming and decide that in moments like this I should show a reaction. I slightly widen my eyes, part my lips a bit, and ask, "Really?" Woojin, feigning surprise. Hylam asks, "Does that change how you perceive me now?" I silently stand before her as she starts observing my shoes and shirt. I think, having revealed her identity, she openly scrutinizes me like a superior addressing a subordinate, unaware of how rude she's being, and is also able to swiftly regain control of her excited emotions. Hylam asks if I'm not attending school, and I confirm it. She says that's perfect and remarks that she's bored, asking if I want to hang out with her today. I examine every detail of her face and conclude it is greed. I assume she sees me as a plaything, but instead, I can exploit that greed to manipulate her like a puppet. She says she hasn't eaten yet and asks if I want to grab something to eat. I think she isn't giving me a choice and respond with, "Sure." I assume that when she grows up, there's a high chance she'll be a sociopath or a narcissist. She says she knows a good place and decides to go there. I ask where it is, and she tells me he'll find out when they arrive. I think she doesn't even share any details about the location and assumes she's the type who expects the world to revolve around her. Sometime later, we are sitting in a fancy restaurant. She comments that since I'm not in school, she asks if I'm pursuing a career as an idol or something else. I reply, something else. She then asks what I do. I respond with studying and explain I am preparing for the high school equivalency exam. But I ask her why she isn't in school at this hour, as she says she left early because it's that time of the month. I carefully examine her expression and suspect she is lying. I ask if she means that time, and she confirms it. As I say, she's referring to the phenomenon where the uterine lining reacts to hormones and is expelled, which stuns her, shocked tone, and leaves her flustered. While the waitress asks if they are ready to order, blushing Hylam quietly shoots a glare at me. She declares they will both have the ES course. While she continues ordering, I anticipate that she won't give me a choice and assume she has a strong urge to assert control over others. I observe the surroundings as people eat their dinner and wait quietly. When the waitress arrives with our order, Hylam asks if I am always this quiet, and I confirm it. As the waitress was about to serve us our soup to start, Hylam accidentally touches the waitress's arm while saying, "This is so boring," which startles her. The waitress quickly apologizes and asks if she scared her, then continues serving. As Hylam silently checks her arm, she reassures the waitress it's fine. I assume she is overreacting because nothing happened. Hylam starts tying her hair and says she had already told him it was that time of the month. I believe there's a high chance she's lying. Suddenly, her ribbon falls, and as she bends to pick it up, I cover the corner of the table. Confused, she asks what I'm doing. I respond that I'm protecting her head from injury. She looks up at me and starts to blush. I remark that something bad must have happened to her. Embarrassed, Hylam denies it and asks what makes him so sure. Sitting in my chair, I simply reply that she looks a bit tired. She tells me to worry about myself since my face is so pale it's almost white. Then asks why I don't try the food before it gets cold. I agree, take a sip of the soup, and am amazed by its flavor. She asks if it's delicious and mentions that the soup here is just as good as the one at K restaurant in Busan. I think I have caught her like a fish, taking the bait. Now, to backtrack, I mirror her words to build rapport and ask, "Who did you go to K restaurant with?" She says she went with a friend and asks if I know Kim. I reply that I have no idea who that is. She asks if I really don't know the actress Kim. I tell Hylam I've never heard of her. She asks if I've been living under a rock or something. I think it's time to bring back old memories, using questions to help relive past experiences and positive emotions. You must have loved seeing the ocean. Woo Jin, gentle, inviting her to reminisce. She talks about the fireworks over Gangneung Bridge and describes them as a masterpiece of pure art. I think her body and brain must be drenched in dopamine, norepinephrine, and other hormones as she recalls the past. I explain that the human brain can't differentiate between reality and imagination, just like how picturing a lemon makes the mouth water. Though she's sitting here, she's speaking excitedly as if she's watching fireworks from a yacht. Just by leading her through past joy and listening, I have become a source of pleasure for her. Really? Woojin, encouraging, engaged. She assures me it was hilarious. As we continue talking, the waitress brings their main course. I'm excited as the meat has finally arrived and she asks why I don't cut it up. She asks if I have ever been on any trips, and I deny it. The waitress brings them the final course, a mango sorbet. She tells him she went to an island called Holbox last year. I mutter its location in Quintana Roo, on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. She confirms it and portrays the beach there at night, describing the stars in the sky as so dense they resemble an aurora, while the waves glisten as they roll in. She looks confused as I suddenly get up, saying I need to go study. She asks why so suddenly, and then says, "Don't tell me you're one of those people who scrub bathrooms and do that kind of work." I start walking away, saying I have a high school equivalency exam, but Helam calls out for me to wait a second. I look back as she questions how I can just leave like that and insists I should at least give her my phone number. She makes an excuse, saying that since I haven't been to Holbox Island, she could help if I ever go, as she knows the best hotels and restaurants. I think she's addicted to the hormones that bring her pleasure. I am the one who can trigger them, and she might have attachment issues and weak family bonds. I hand her my phone, assuming that if I exploit these weaknesses, I might be able to make everything she has experienced and learned mine. She enters my number into her phone and exclaims that I don't even have a passcode on it. I take my phone, thanking her for the meal. She responds with a simple, "Sure," as I walk away, then adjusts her ribbon, trying to remember something. Stepping out of the restaurant, she asks where I live, but I ignore her, staring ahead. As she continues calling out to me, I am focused on someone who has cornered a man in a narrow alleyway. Hyelim steps closer to me to see what's wrong. As I shield her face with my hand, telling her not to look, she swiftly retreats. When she screams, asking if I said stabbed, the culprit notices them and flees the crime scene while I shield Hyelim with my body. I focus my gaze on that man, analyzing his outfit and every single detail which I could see. I start running while calling the police number. I watch as the man clutches his wound in agony. I press my hand against it, trying to stop the bleeding, and tell him to hold on a bit longer. I alert the police about the stabbing and urgently request assistance, providing the location. Placing 2 fingers on the man's wrist, I check his pulse, which is rapidly increasing. I assume the cerebellum is raising the heart rate in response to blood loss, noting the severity of the internal bleeding. I ask the man for his blood type. He weakly responds, type B. I report the hypothermia is severe, so an urgent blood transfusion is required, and provide details of the blood type as they ask me. I reiterate the condition of the wounded man. They ask where the man was stabbed. I reply, in the abdomen. They provide instructions on how to help the wounded man. I state I am already doing everything possible and hope they will prepare type B blood and send it immediately. I quickly glance at Hylam, who is utterly horrified by the situation and thinks, living a normal life is truly difficult. Woojin, a grim realization. Sometime later, the police arrive there and take care of the situation while controlling the crowd. I am wiping the blood from my hands with a tissue when the officer calls me student, stating he wants to ask me a few questions about the person I claimed to have seen. I immediately begin describing every detail of that man while taking out my phone. The officer tells him to hold on while turning on the recorder. He asks if I could start from the beginning again. Hylam quietly observes me as I explain the situation to the officer. I assume this is her first time going through this, but her condition creates a perfect environment for me. I picture her as a baby crawling on the ground. As she gradually stands up, her parents support her, cheering for her small achievement. But suddenly she stumbles. I believe that when shock takes over, people either sit down or collapse, unsure of how to react. Her parents gently console her as she cries. I decide to comfort Helam right away, just like a parent would, since at this moment, no one else can take my place. I ask if she was startled and reassure her, saying, "It's okay now." Woojin, gentle, soothing, while also assuming this experience will leave a strong impression, making her think of me. I rest my hand on her shoulder, reassuring her that, thankfully, the victim doesn't appear to be seriously injured. Like a child holding on to their mother, I tell her she doesn't need to worry. I say the culprit never even saw their faces and will most likely be caught soon since there are numerous CCTV cameras around. Sometime later, somewhere in an elegant house inside a master bedroom, someone has arrived home. The shower is cascading with hot water as that girl is bathing. It is none other than Hylam, who is reminiscing about the situation she faced with Woo Jin and begins recalling his reassuring words. Then, a gentle smile formed on her lips as she relished the warm water. She opened the glass door of the bathroom and stepped out with a towel wrapped around her hair and a shirt draping over half of her body. She slowly walks in her slippers to the dressing room and sits in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair towel. She quietly looks down at her phone, realizing she never had the chance to ask Woo Jin. On the other side, in my house, I am on my bed watching some food videos. As I begin to scroll down that video, I see a video where they are preparing meat sticks. I am astonished and resolve to definitely try it someday. Suddenly, Helam texts me, asking if I got home safely. I open her chat and respond that I am completely fine. She asks what I said. I reply that I am going to sleep now and say goodnight. I ignore her and keep watching the food video. Helam texts me, saying it's only 10 o'clock and I'm already asleep, but I ignore her and continue watching the video. The next day, I enjoy my meal and give my mom a double thumbs up for her cooking. Then my dad leaves for work and my sister heads to school. I place my notebook in front of me and quickly start solving the questions. Once I'm done, I toss the notebook aside, look at my phone, and think that keeping it beside me is a golden rule I should apply to everyday life. Suddenly, Helam starts texting me, but I move on to another notebook and think ignoring messages is just another part of an ordinary routine. I gaze out the window and notices a small sparrow perched on a wire. I consider this a peaceful and ordinary daily life because to me, maintaining ordinariness is challenging, and I have to put an effort to achieve it. Suddenly, an unknown number starts calling me. As I answer, the caller introduces themselves as Team Leader Kim Mang and explains that they are calling regarding business funds or emergency loans. I wonder if I actually won something and remember a post explaining what to do when receiving voice phishing or loan calls. I keep a straight face and say, I need about 10 billion won, deadpan firm, asking if that's possible. They immediately hang up the call. I sit down, relieved that I knew how to handle this, but once again, an unknown number calls me. As I answer, the caller introduces himself as Officer Sang Cheol from the police station. I wonder if I won again, and Sang Cheol asks if I am Shin Woojin, the student who reported the stabbing. I confirm it, and Sang Cheol says they need my help to come in for a witness statement since the suspect has been caught. I step out of my room and shut the door. I head to the front door, quietly starting to close it, but suddenly open it again and say I'll be back, not late like last time. I recall the time I was kidnapped, thinking of my happy family, and vow to come back on time every day. On the other side, the sky is overcast and the atmosphere is dim. A man is handcuffed, and someone says they couldn't see his face clearly because of the hat. The other person told him to just focus on the overall impression. It is Taehan asking me if the man seemed like the one from that time. I then ask what the suspect is saying now. Taehan presses a button and asks if I want to listen to his voice. The sound from the interrogation room begins transmitting to the other room. The man keeps insisting he is innocent and accuses the cops of harassing him. From the mirrored wall of the interrogation room, I carefully analyze the suspect's every detail and movement. The suspect bites his lip, insisting why would he do something to someone he didn't even know. When they mentioned the bloodstains on his hands, he unconsciously covered his mouth. As he kept making excuses, he clenched his teeth in frustration. Taehan quietly observes me. A moment later, he asked what I thought after hearing that. As I respond that the person was lying outside, the rain starts to fall. Taehan asks if I believe it is that guy, and I agree. I recall the man's actions during the interrogation, considering that he chose to freeze by crossing his feet. I think about the likelihood of him freezing due to psychological pressure, but assume that if they analyze all his behaviors mathematically and probabilistically, and his nonverbal cues suggest he is frozen in place before a perceived threat, it indicates he fears his identity might be exposed. I ask about the person's academic background. Taehan questions why that is relevant and mentions hearing that he has a master's degree. I assume that the higher one's education, the more they rely on logical evidence. I ask if Taehan mentioned that there was a witness. He denies it and mentions that I only saw from a distance. I say I think that man will confess if Taehan says there's an eyewitness and assure him that I believe this person is the culprit. I ask if I can go now. Taehan replies, "Sure," and again asks if I think he's the culprit. I confirm it and tell him to take care. Taehan inquires if he wants to walk me out. I reply that I'm fine. As I leave, he begins to consider my idea and opens the door of the interrogation room, informing Young Bae that they have an eyewitness who saw his face at the scene. Young Bae is surprised to hear that, and when they ask if he admits it now, he replies that it was impulsive and he didn't plan to kill from the start. The rain has stopped and the sky has cleared. I step out, gazing up at the sky. I look back at the police station where some men are eating, and I wonder what jjajangmyeon tastes like at the police station. As drool forms on my mouth, I decide I will definitely try it someday. As I start heading home, I take out my phone and check Helim's chat. I start typing and text her. "The culprit's caught. You can relax now." She silently checks the message on her phone while sitting in her classroom surrounded by her friends. She texts me back asking, "But why are you contacting me only now?" She becomes totally confused when I tell her to get home safely. She can't believe it when I text. Everyone just reads and ignores messages normally. She asks what I am doing now. I reply, "I'm going to take on a challenge." She becomes even more confused, so I suggest, "If you come, it might increase my chances of success." Somewhere in a noodle restaurant, Hylam questions me about our previous chat conversation. The shop owner brings the food to the table and tells me that I have to finish it all within 20 minutes. He warns that if I fail to finish, I will have to pay 20,000 won as a penalty. I ready myself, realizing that the key factor to watch out for is the leptin hormone. When eating, fat cells release leptin, signaling fullness and satiety to the brain, so I must finish before leptin induces the sensation of fullness. The shop owner takes out a stopwatch and tells me to let him know when I'm ready. I say I am ready, and the shop owner sets the stopwatch to 20 minutes, then urges me to begin. I dip my chopsticks into the bowl of noodles and pull out a large portion at once. I quickly eat them and then grab a huge piece of meat, shocking both the shop owner and Hylam. I desperately try to fit it into my mouth, swallowing it whole, then move on to finish the remaining noodles in the bowl. I lift the bowl filled with soup and in one swift motion tosses it into the air. I open my mouth, gulping down every drop, and the table gets pushed away as my belly expands. I put down the empty bowl and tap the stopwatch myself, while both of them stare at me in surprise. Then, the shop owner says I have succeeded, and I exclaim that I should ask Bomi to praise him. Confused, Hylam asks if I am trying to become a YouTuber or something. I refuse, saying that's not normal, and Hylam challenges me, asking if eating all that is normal. As we leave, we express our gratitude for the meal, and the shop owner thanks us in return, encouraging us to visit again. Hylam questions me, asking if there's really room for a latte. I say it's a rule to have dessert after a meal when someone is with a woman. She asks if I know I'm really weird, but strangely interesting. I ask back, "Isn't this normal?" She urges me to come quickly as we head to a coffee shop. I try a drink and exclaim, "It's so sweet." Hylam warns me that I need to stop watching YouTube, saying my way of speaking is unusual, but I keep eating the pastry, exclaiming, "It's so delicious," making Hylam more worried. A moment later, someone opens the car door. As Hylim warns me that I really need to stop watching YouTube, she urges me to get in, assuring me that she'll give me a ride and that it's fine. But I simply stand there as she gets into the car. As it starts moving, she glances at me, finding it strange. On the other side, in my house, I am watching food videos on YouTube when suddenly an unknown number calls me. I wonder if I had won something at this hour. As I pick up the call, the caller inquires, "Is this Shin Woojin's phone?" I confirm it and ask, "Who is this?" Then I realize that Taehan is calling me. Taehan asks if it is a good time to talk, then brings up the YouTube channel High School Mukbang. He explained that there wasn't just one perpetrator but several. The victim and the perpetrators had met in a runaway family, and the victim's family hadn't searched for them much. I realized the victim had turned 20 after repeatedly running away. Even if they appeared on YouTube while being held captive, no one would suspect anything or say a word, and the runaway family had likely committed the crime with that in mind. Taehan says he had saved someone's life and wondered how I knew about it. I then asked if the victim had made it home safely. As Taehan confirmed it, he thanked me, saying they were able to solve the case because of me. He added that he wanted to treat me to a meal as a token of appreciation and asked when he was free,